was
more like jest. I don't even know how to describe
It
it.
was a lot of jesters. Usually you find people who step on your toes. You have someone that you are cooking, and then some from them will just come with spoon and place. I come and do something I can do much better. Better. It also taught me not to allow failure to define who I am.
You were Scotty, and then you now brought me in
So I brought
to come as Scotty.
Scott. Yeah. Medicine adds years to life. We had life to those years.
Welcome to Amazing Exploits with Joshua Olaniyi. On this podcast, I'll be speaking to people across various fields and at different phases of their careers, businesses, and in life in general. We'll be exploring their journeys and having them share their story with us. On this very first episode, I'm excited, and joining me is my very close friend, a brilliant physiotherapist. Join me in welcoming physiotherapist Damilola Olatunji to the podcast.
All right. I feel excited and honored at the same time to be doing this together with you. So it's wonderful.
It's good. All right, yeah. So we're talking a bit about your journey and then how life has been so far. Before we do a deep dive into what your journey has been like, so let's get a bit of background. Let's get to know you a bit. So I was like growing up. What was it like? Yeah, at least prior to maybe getting into university.
So let's just go back some years back now. My childhood actually started. Right, my very first childhood experiences were in Ejigbo, actually, Ejigbo, Lagos. So, and pretty much it was a pretty interesting experience actually. And I grew up in a Christian home, and I think those were the very first things that actually formed who I am today. The fact that I was born a child with a Christian background. Yeah, and. Childhood was early childhood. Well, not really much activities like that, but I just think it was actually a fun time. I remember I had two childhood friends. Sometimes we'd go out to go into the bush. There was a bush beside the school where I used to, and then we'd go out to play, come in, pretty much, just free experience. Actually, it was a very happy-go-lucky experience for me as a child. Did a primary school, that's Federal College of Education, a primary school. It was actually Federal College of Education, but it was a primary school.
They had a primary school over there.
So, and I got in there. I wasn't really a good student. I was more or less, I was not really good, but just average, and all that. So that was but then primary school was a time when I wouldn't say I made friends, but not really that much friends.
Yeah, you kind of look like a get-inside kid, especially for middle-class families, where most times no one wants their kids to interact with people all around.
Yes. So that was exactly, my experience. Of course, every kid would want to explore, would want to go
do stuff, try out new things.
That's actually what's in it and all that. I would, sneak out, play with other friends, in the neighborhood. We play football, we go out, experience things and all that. Come home and get the beating of your life for going out.
Funny enough, despite those beatings, it still does not stop us. Once you get the next opportunity again, so you want to go out to have fun.
So let's just fast forward a little bit to secondary school actually. So we actually moved again because I was moving from Ejigbo to Bariga. It was still within Lagos. So we moved
Bariga, you guys moved
to Ikorodu. That was to our own house. So we had put our house and all that. So
that's where you had your secondary school.
So at Ikorodu, and I attended Livingstone College, private school actually, and that was where I was beginning to pick up academically. I remember when I was in GSS1, late GSS1, GSS2. Of course, I wasn't doing too well academically. My parents were not happy with my performance. My performance in school. And I remember there was a sermon by one of our pastors in church about excellence. And I remember that was one someone actually encouraged me to say I can do much better, better and all that. So and that shaped me. And I picked up like that. then I came from someone who was just in the mid average to doing so well, getting one of the top 4 best students in class. Then so it was, so that was actually that particular experience. That's someone I had about excellence and all that actually spurred me to do so well academically.
That's
eventually, secondary school. In secondary school, I know that well. I was a laboratory prefect at some points, an office prefect at some points. So I had some experience with leadership. And it was actually the very first, time I was, I had the opportunity to lead in at some capacity and all that in secondary school. And actually, it was actually
that's cool.
A formative experience from them. So then, fast forward a little bit, done with secondary school. Now the next phase was, of course, university, and of course.
So how did that happen? Right? How did physiotherapy happen? Getting to decide that okay, I was going to study physiotherapy, and how long did it take between when you left secondary school and when you eventually, and why pre-degree also?
Okay, yes. When I was to get into university, I already had what I wanted to do. I wanted to go for medicine. Every of my preparation was towards that.
Yeah.
I remember I wrote the UTME, did so well in UTME. I actually did jam 3 times. Not because I didn't pass jam, but because this next stage of UTME, I was always being trashed. So my very first school I said it was OAU. And OAU was like, I don't know, maybe because I hail from Osho State, but OAU had been what was where I wanted to go. Yeah, I said OAU. When I was filling the jam form, that was the very first, my first choice was OAU. So, and I put in medicine. And I remember very vividly I was downcast, but thank God my parents were there. My mom especially, she was there encouraging me that you can do well and all that. So I picked up again, I went in again, applied for jam the next year. This time around it wasn't a lot, and it was still medicine. And I did jam, did so well there too. Was UTME, and now fell short like about 4 marks. Whoa. To the cutoff mark for medicine.
That was very painful.
So that was another second brew, like a 2-0 kind of thing again. So then I was like, what's the next thing? I was not too happy. Some of my mates were already
in school already.
So that explained that that actually kind of triggered some feelings and all that. But then, calling up my mom actually at work. Suggested to my mom that, why don't you enroll your child to pre-degree college? Pre-degree was more or less a pre-university kind of thing. You get preparation, own levels, and then you apply for the exam once and all that. So I went to pre-degree, and I would say God just allowed it to, because pre-degree was a major tipping point for me in my life.
Right.
Yeah, it was a major tipping point for me in my life, because apart from the fact that it affected me academically, it also affected me spiritually. Before pre-degree, I wasn't very, very serious spiritually, like my faith and all that. Yeah, by the fact of the fact that I grew up in a Christian home. I got to know the Lord. I accepted Jesus Christ as a Lord, personal Savior at a very young age. And so, of course, that was, I can't talk about my life without talking about that, because that also too shaped me. So, but, to exuberance, all those things like that. So I was like, but pre-degree was a place where I got to encounter people of like mind, people that were, that would actually challenge me. And I attended, because usually, the way campus is like, where communities of campus fellowship scattered around, and usually the practice is that anytime new students are coming in, they usually have this catch them young program and all of that. But then for me, actually, it was different, because I had already decided before, and the campus fair I went to attend, because that was influenced by my dad's suggestion that why don't you attend Deeper Life? When you get to Deeper Life campus fair, you experience this and all that. So I said, okay, no problem. I said, no, whatever. Let me just, wherever I get there, no problem. But I just decided, okay, if that be the case, okay. So, and I came into pre-degree, not at the same time everyone got in, due to one or two things or the other. I came in late, like about a month after it had started. So, and I went through the process, registered, went to my hostel, and I just there was a time I remember one day like that there was supposed to be a program at the campus fellowship I attended. So and most of the students in that would happen to follow them because they will bring their bus. They had some student programs and all that. So I was like, okay, there's one of those the campus workers. They came, and they just came to the hostel. So I just met with them and said, you are having a program. They invited me. So I said, no problem, I will attend. I remember I went that day, and so that was just I attended that fellowship actually inspired, because one thing about Deeper Life Campus Fellowship was a place where, apart from the fact that you would be challenged academically, because it was spiritual aspect was actually very strong as well. They were strong when it comes to academics and also spiritual part as well. So and it was a platform where I could interact with other other people and also get mentorship as well.
Still in line with like getting mentorship. So how do you now eventually decide that it was going to be physiotherapy?
Okay.
I know you already mentioned that did JAMB, it was medicine or nothing.
Yes.
And then now you're in pre-degree where you had another opportunity to run for medicine. So at what point in time did it change?
Okay.
And what influenced that decision?
Yes. Okay. So usually for pre-degree, it was divided into 2 sessions. I think they had I forgot the name, but it was the first semester, then second.
Second contact, first contact.
Yes, it was first contact. I remember first contact, second. So first contact, my performance was still average.
Yeah.
And it was at that point you would have decided that, because usually the way it was, the overall performance determined by first contact, second contact, the average of it. So and of course by first contact, if your performance is at some level, you would have known that my chances of getting this course is slimmer and all that. But I remember at that point, that was at the end of first contact.
Okay.
It was a pure, like, it was for every one of us. It was a decisive phase for us. It was a decisive phase of whether to continue with the initial choice of the course you actually want to study in university or not. So I was of the point of which course should I go for microbiology. So it was now a senior colleague of mine who was already in campus was I remember Bro Simeon. We are still close to death today, and I remember he was one of those people we looked up to, and I remember he was already a student in physiotherapy. The department under the was actually medical rehabilitation. So I heard about medical rehabilitation, but I knew about physiotherapy before, and I had an idea of what physiotherapy was. And before then, I had already been having some inkling of physiotherapy. I've had some, just maybe a faint understanding of what physiotherapy before. So I heard about medical. What was medical rehabilitation? Medical rehabilitation. Is it that you rehabilitate? So it was now the one that enlightened us, that put us through that what medical rehabilitation was about is it was a broad department that involves physiotherapy. Physiotherapy was about restoring function, mobility, and all that. So I felt, wow, there's something here. So there's something and all that. So I remember it was now I changed again. I changed from medicine to medical rehabilitation. So and second contact was like very good for me. I did so well in the half contact. I did so well. Then by the time we're done with the exam, I also performed excellently well. I think overall my mark was 77 when they did the average and everything. So and it was a wonderful experience. I said, wow, this is. And the cutoff mark for medical rehabilitation was 72. And then eventually I got 10. Where you? And it was I remember it was an exciting time then. So it was one of the fulfilling time I had. Oh wow! I eventually got my course.
After getting a few blows.
After getting a few blows from post-UTM, not jam per se, but post-UTM was just jamming upon jamming post was jamming me and all that. But
Yeah.
eventually, I got the course and
That's really cool. It was also it's also interesting getting to decide that it was going to be physiotherapy and also deciding around that, like after first contact.
Yeah.
At that point in time, so I had to also reevaluate based on what I finished first contact with. Can I still continue? Will I still get medicine? And I remember one of the programs that we did in that was organized in DLCF. So around after first contact, we usually have that program where they'll bring different people to come and speak about different units. They'll ask us again, make sure. So together with prayers and all of that, I just knew that I think I just needed to readjust. And eventually after second contact, my mark exactly was 72. That's the exact cutoff mark of physiotherapy. So if I had chosen probably medicine, most likely I would have missed medicine, and then I won't be giving like physiotherapy. So at that point in time, I also learned about ask questions, and it's just pretty interesting how God can use people around you to just like guide you to what exactly you need to do. All right, so let's talk a bit about surviving OAU. How was OAU?
Okay.
How was your experience on campus for you? So I know it's still going to be a mix of DLCF, a mix of leadership roles, a mix of our work in health sciences. So how did you survive? Because I know you have some story to share, right? I know that there's one particular experience that also shook you at some point. I think it was in part 2 or was it part 3? In part 3, yeah. So you can tell us a bit about it. So just give us.
So
how did campus life go for you?
Post pre-degree, got in, exciting time again. Definitely, of course, after my experience with DLCF, when you go to AU, of course, by default it was DLCF. So that was the the next the people associated with campus. And overall, my life on campus, ONU campus, or Bawa University.
Yeah.
Let's category about that. Okay, was a triangular life. I was more or less school. Was actually class, church, campus fellowship church. And
back to
hostel. So that was triangular life. I didn't have my social experience. My social life was more or less with campus, and maybe in class too. So and all that. Usually the program for medical relation was 5 years. So I spent 5 years, and those 5 years was a mix of success. At the same time, was a mix of failures as well. And particularly part 3, there was this particular course that was gross anatomy, and in fact that was one experience that also shook me on campus. While I happened to that particular course, I fell short of the desired mark. So I know that I think I scored 46. So the minimum mark was 50. Yes, it was a very tough. It was not really tough as such, but the way the exam in health sciences, quality of health sciences was in fact it was tough. Let me not say it was tough, and it was tough in the sense that the mode of writing the exam, you would, for each of these, especially like gross anatomy, for each of those, it was divided into different classes. You had anatomy as a whole, it was divided into several. You had gross anatomy, you had histology, you had embryology. So those were 3 aspects. So, and you were going to write exams. There was what we call the viva, which is oral. There's what we call the steeplechase, which you would have to. That was during you have to
microscope.
So it was like a speed kind of. It was, and if you were not someone, it was a challenging exam. And yes, I didn't do so well in the exam. I scored 46. Over 100, that was below. So, and of course, the norms that once you score below 50, which was the cutoff, points and all that, you would have to take it again. So, and I went back again, I reflected what were the things that, and I remember at some point, because I didn't have any reason to feel that, because I remember I did well at the in-course.
But more like test.
Yeah, so when I got at some point, I wasn't very serious with the exam. I didn't prepare as I should. So and I saw that lapses, and of course there was another opportunity for me to gather my books again, pick those areas. It was like a second chance for me, and eventually I wrote the exam and I scaled through this, and I did so well. in the in the exam. So that was actually one major that shook me.
So like what lessons would you say you learned, or how did you move on? I know that there are lots of persons that most times, especially people that they are not used to failing, they've come from secondary school, they've had amazing results, maybe straight 9 A's, and then they get into maybe a new environment, maybe university, and they just find themselves maybe failing things. Like how were you able to move from that particular failure? What lessons did you learn from that experience?
So one thing about life is that life is always ups and downs. That's the reality about life. It's not always smooth. So that experience of failure that was in school actually taught me to, number one, to be to always reflect, go the extra mile and all that. So it was it also taught me not to allow failure to define who I am, because of course one thing about failure is that it's actually, there are lessons you can learn from it. So it actually revealed to me lapses, areas where I needed to improve upon. The thing was to reflect on those things, look at those gaps, look at those lapses, and then fill those lapses and those gaps, and then do it again. Another opportunity comes again, and then so that's one thing about that was one of the things that that helps me to to scale through action.
One important thing you mentioned is good for us to notice that not allowing failure to define you. There will be moments, it's almost inevitable. Once you shoot for big things and you are not trying to stay in your comfort zone, failure is just like part of life, and not allowing it to define who you are, and not allowing yourself to just remain down. Oh, I failed, I don't think I can achieve it. But then going back again, you went back again for the exam, put in much more effort in preparation, and then eventually you passed excellently.
So just keep pushing. That's just keep pushing. So regardless of the setbacks you're going to experience, and that's one of the things I've learned over time, is just you keep pushing. Don't if there are things that you are falling short of that actually contribute to that failure, you look at those aspects,
examine,
so it's an opportunity to keep improving yourself, keep getting better. Once that is in place, the sky is the starting point.
All right, that's pretty great, and then pretty interesting to know. So another thing again, on OA campus, what was like friendships for you? How important were friendship, right? I know that in DLCF, we were very close knit, and you had mentioned before it was a very good balance of strong academical life and strong spiritual life. And I can remember we had a lot of group discussions, we had a lot of prayer meetings. So how did those friendships, how did it play out, and how impactful and valuable were
I remember
relations together?
In fact, I would not. A larger part of my successes in OAU is all I would say is attributed to the association I kept. Because the thing about life is that one cannot live life in isolation. You always need people. So and more of note actually is the system of because I remember we had a system of group discussions. And usually it was every, departments, units, you would identify those people that were in your departments. And then you would come together, you would select a particular day and time where we would have group discussions. And I remember part one, it was helpful. Some of the things that we treated eventually came out of the exams, and that actually contributed to our success. The same thing part two. Part two was another ball game entirely. New courses, new experience. A lot of it, like I said earlier on, my successes and my experience was the association I kept, friendship, of course.
The support.
One of those challenges. I remember we stayed almost in the same hostel. I don't know. That was.
Should we share our sporting journey?
Yeah, that was.
How did you survive? So let's talk a bit about the survival of hostels. Not getting hostels between part 2, 3, 4, and then what do we even call it? Is it balloting? Balloting out for hostels, discussing life and all of that.
Part 1 by default.
You have an hostel, you have a best.
So it was more like fresh experience. But then by the time you're in part 2, you have become a stay light already. So you have become stale.
Exactly.
So I didn't get hostel, and of course the usual thing was that that when you don't have hostel, was a feel like that you
escort somebody.
So we just escort. I remember I escorted together with Joshua. So we escorted.
It's interesting. I think you escorted, and then you now brought me in
so I brought
to come escorting
escort
in our
So, and it was, and the way the experience was, it was a rugged experience, was also very exciting. I don't know how is in all then.
Then I think a lot of things have changed. There are now
things
renovations
have
and
changed
yeah,
actually, but
I don't think it's
then
even legal.
it was
It was illegal obviously that time, but then we had no choice.
Yeah, we had no choice there. So it was a radical hostel. We said that. So the people there was what we call Aru. We had Aru. So you had a lot of people that, it was
More like jest. I don't even know how to describe it.
It was a lot of jesters, like brilliant guys actually, but all of jesters. And as guys, actually, it was a rugged experience. We had, I remember that particular room and all that. And you have just four, out of all of them, maybe four actually proper inhabitants of that particular house. But then the rest of us were squatters. And in a room, maybe just have about 7, but no. Yeah, we had 2 rooms and one small, that was just there. And one small, we need 2 small beds.
That was even 2 small beds and then 2 bunks.
So you had, in one bunk, you have in fact, you have 4 people on that bunk. Or in some occasions, you have 3 or so. And you had on the floor,
and again, the other part where we are supposed to put stuffs. We had somebody that has a bed on that part.
So it was a rugged experience. One of the things it taught me actually is because based on my I didn't have any experience with boarding, living out with people. Fun now, so but it actually taught me how to be more thorough on people, because usually you find people who step on your toes. You also that you are cooking, and then some from them will just come with spoon and place. I come and give you something and all that. So it was that experience. So and all that. So it was a rugged experience. It was a interesting experience actually. So squatting, things like that, interacting with other people. It was. And it was just a normal life for us, actually. Normal life for us.
Just has to push through.
Yeah, push through. Regardless of that condition
and just make something out of it.
Or make something out of it.
Yeah. Though, as much as possible, I think that at this age, nobody will obviously want to go to a place where you are sure that it's just stressful, right? There are a few persons that might not be able to survive in those kind of terrains, but I think that one thing he helped us develop is just being very strong-hearted, and no matter how the challenges that come our way, it's almost like, we've experienced more worse things and then you have to push through to survive and all of that, getting food, water and all that, queuing for to wash downstairs, and those times when our toilets weren't very great and all of that, but eventually I think there are new renovations and that at least improve the living conditions of people. I think that's really cool. So tell us a bit, how is physiotherapy going? How is physiotherapy in Nigeria currently?
Okay, yes. So of course I'm a physiotherapist by profession, and physiotherapy in Nigeria, it's a lucrative profession, but at the same time not up to the desirable actually. It's in Nigeria there are things that needs to be improved upon, particularly when it comes to, and it's actually not only boils down to physiotherapy, but also the health profession in general. When it comes to the remuneration, usually the issue in Nigeria, we have so many strikes, and usually it boils down to the remuneration. The remunerations are not desirable.
Commensurate to how much effort
you put in.
Impact.
And that's actually a challenge the government to, make sure that a lot of investments allocate more resources to the health.
In terms of adoption, what is it like? One of the major challenges or one of the major things that we've always had for years is how a lot of people still don't know what physiotherapy is all about, what we do, and how much impact we make, and the role we actually play in the health system or in the health flow. So how is it now? How is it like now? Is there increased adoption? Do people know that, for this kind of cases, they are amendable by physiotherapy? What is it like currently?
Okay, yes. I'll say from my own observation, that orientation has improved.
Oh, okay.
Because initially, people would actually, when you say physiotherapy, the first thing they will say is massage. And they are not to blame because they don't have that orientation. But once the orientation is put in place, and I just want to use this to say that when physiotherapy as a profession is a health profession, and the focus of that profession is to restore function and mobility to people who are ill. And there are different kinds of illnesses that we actually come in. People with neurological cases, stroke, people with respiratory conditions, so
orthopedic
cases. Orthopedic. So and it's actually there's actually a whole lot of a whole lot of benefits that physiotherapy has, to offer to those category of patients, particularly because most of the fundamental philosophy physiotherapy is to whatever illness, whatever condition that you're having, the most important thing is that you are functional.
Yeah.
That you having no back pain, the pain goes down, and of course that also affects your quality of life, your function as a person.
Strength to do stuff.
There's this common saying that just the way medicine adds years to life, we had life to those years. So what are the things that makes a life, that improves the quality of your life? The fact that you're able to do the things you want to do, go for your hobbies, drive, go to your job,
work with your kids,
without getting weak and all this. So that's where it's coming. And for someone who comes out with a stroke, physiotherapy comes in. There's what we call stroke rehabilitation, where we eventually, through tailored exercises, eventually help the patient to be able to function and be able to walk around, do the things he has not been able to do for some time. At least bring the person back to near normal function.
All right, so let's dial it back a bit. I know that the knowledge and then information about physiotherapy and conditions that are amenable to physiotherapy are like improving gradually. But I know that one of the major cases that we have in Nigeria is the fact of high blood pressure, low blood pressure that most time causes like stroke, which is one of the very common conditions that we have a lot. And the challenging part of it is that I know previously we have it among like the elderly. Now we are getting to see it a bit more around young people. But most times in our young age now, most of us want to just also have fun, and we most times don't take care of our health like that. So what are the things that you think you would want to advise, or things that you can speak about? About this in general.
All right. So let me just start by just giving a brief talk about stroke. What stroke means. So stroke is what we call cerebrovascular accident, and it involves when the blood supply to the brain is affected. So and the brain cells receive nutrients, blood supply, through this blood supply. So once this supply is affected, either through, it could be that the blood vessel bursts, or it could be as a result of a blockage,
an obstruction.
Obstruction to the flow. So those brain cells, once that happens, the brain cells don't get oxygen, don't get nutrients. And one thing about brain cells is that it takes about 4 minutes for brain cells before they begin to die, and it doesn't take that long. Before that time. So once that happens, the brain cells begins to die, and that's around that area, and then begin to see symptoms of weakness.
So all the parts of the body where they are supposed to control.
Yes, control. And the brain cells, the part of the brain, one of the parts of the brain is that involved in voluntary control, the voluntary motor control. So once that happens, it affects motor control, it affects speech, because it's also linked, because there are parts of the brain that control speech, control and all that. So that is affected. Now, what really causes stroke? There are risk factors, actually. That's actually what happens with stroke. But there are risk factors to it, because it doesn't just happen. There are lots of things. Well, there's what we call modifiable risk factors. And non-modifiable. Modifiable risk factors are the ones that you can actually control them. But non-modifiable are the ones that you cannot control.
We have no power over.
It could be genetics, could be
maybe race,
families, race, and all that. So, but why that aside, the modifiable risk factors is what I want to be particular about. Those are the ones that are within our control. One of the major risk factors is high blood pressure, and it's a common case in our nation, Nigeria. So, things like high blood pressure, diabetes, and unnecessarily high blood sugar, as well as diabetes, and issues with accumulation of fat cells in the blood vessels. Those are things that, like for example, overweight, obesity, all these are modifiable risk factors that are within our control. And in order to prevent things like for all of the things from happening, getting a regular check, checking your blood pressure. And there's a particular extent to which the blood pressure should. If it goes above 140/90, it's high, and it has to be so. But anything below that, it's especially the normal blood pressure. The average is only 120 systolic blood pressure, which is the blood pressure when the blood vessels are contracting, and diastolic when the blood vessels are relaxing. So that's 120/80. There are two numbers. So 120/80 is usually the optimal blood pressure. So that's why it's important to number one, the kind of diet, because diet is another thing. Diet, what to eat, and it has always been recommended that foods that are rich in vegetables, fruits. You take foods that are low in sodium, because sodium contributes to high blood pressure. It increases the blood pressure.
Like salt.
Salt.
Taking too much of salt.
Yes. Too much salt, intake. These are things that are your diet. These foods that are low in fat, especially bad fats, because we have good fat and we have bad fat. So fatty acids, low density lipoproteins, foods that are rich, that are high in those things, like oils that are not well processed.
Yeah, those oils
things like that. Yeah. So those are things that contributes to all of these risk factors that can eventually lead to stroke. That can contribute to
sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah, and also sedentary, not exercising enough. In fact, exercise have been shown to help a lot in bringing down blood pressure. In fact, it has a lot of benefits.
Let me just share something that a common saying among many persons, where people are like, okay, I don't want six packs, I don't want muscles. Do I really need to exercise? Some people have the opinion of, okay, I already work in Lagos. I moved from my house to, are those things enough? And people are like, okay, I'm slender. Why do I need to maybe exercise?
Okay, so there's a difference between exercise and physical activity. Just normal physical activity, you go out. Exercise is actually structured. It has to be structured. It has to structure in the sense that there are certain times, you need to exercise, and the duration, and also the type of exercises too. Because you have aerobic exercises, you have exercises that are resistance exercises that wants to improve flexibility. So regardless of that, things as simple as jogging, walking, taking brisk walks, going out, and according to American Heart Association, there's a particular extent to which you exercise that will actually help to protect your heart. Because one thing also I didn't mention about stroke is that the heart conditions you can affect can also contribute to stroke too. Especially when someone has what we call coronary artery disease. That's atherosclerosis, that there's the accumulation of fat cells in the blood supply to the heart. So exercise actually helps to, number one, strengthen. Another thing is also strengthens the heart too, because one thing they found out in athletes is that athletes, because they are used to exercising all those things, that they found out that they are the heart muscles are more efficient. It kind of strengthens the heart. They don't get tired easily, because why? Because of the virtue of the programs they are used to. So it actually improves their heart health. So it improves the heart health. Exercises improve their things as simple as brisk walk. I made mention about American Heart Association. The recommendation was that exercises that improve, that actually protects the heart, about 30 minutes of exercises within 5 days in a week, or let me just 150 minutes of aerobic exercise, like walking, brisk walking, things that would involve aerobic exercise that would make you to breathe in, breathe out more, all of those things actually, help to, it actually results in a lot of processes that improves the heart health. So all of those things like that, actually things that improves, that actually helps to limit and reduces the chances of you having all of those strokes, high blood pressure, diabetes,
reducing those risk factors.
all of those risk factors, yes.
Help us live healthy lives. That's like very interesting and insightful. Like just making sure that we reduce those risk factors as much as possible. At least that will reduce the chances that stroke happen and other things. I would just like single out stroke. I know that there are lots of other conditions that are amenable to physiotherapy that physiotherapists can be helpful with. Tell us a bit about therapy and artificial intelligence. What are your thoughts?
Wow.
I know that now, especially in the tech space, artificial intelligence almost every year keeps on getting more popular. So people are saying that AI would replace some jobs and all of that. Some people in some profession are a bit scared. So like in terms of the health profession, physiotherapy now, how do you think that AI would be able to impact physiotherapy? Is this something that is already popular now in the airspace? How are you using it as a physiotherapy, or what do you think are the potentials of artificial intelligence and physiotherapy?
Of course, no, it's about 2 years ago. Of course, with the release of ChatGPT, OpenAI, and recently DeepSeek now.
There's like it's shaking the entire
shaking
ecosystem.
But the beautiful thing is that AI is something that is so wonderful and a great innovation, because there's usually this fear of is it going to increase our job? Well, the thing is that just like we had the industrial revolution, there are certain jobs, like for example, that's not like I say they're going to replace, but they are going to be enhanced. That's what AI actually does. It actually enhances,
helps you to do much more.
So it assists and enhances
productivity,
efficiency of problem solving, which is actually something that it has actually helped with. I use AI a lot in my profession. Particularly, thank God for ChatGPT and all of those things. When it comes to being able to understand patients' case summaries, being able to streamline your management to, so long as you have the right prompts, because that's one aspect of that. From having
you can't expect it to do everything for you.
Yeah, everything, but having the right prompts, and that's where prompt engineering comes in, being able to understand prompts, how to write the right prompts to give the best output. So, and it's actually in that space, actually, it's wonderful. It has actually reduced the time to do certain things, like for example, documentation. It has all of those routine things that actually reduced that, and it has actually improved the efficiency and the speed at which you solve. Because right now, if you are not able to solve problems very fast, you are going to be at the losing. But
you're losing money. Once you're losing time, you're losing money.
So it actually helps with that. It actually improve the timing, the time at which to solve problems, patients' problems. So it has a lot of use cases, and the beautiful thing that this is just the beginning. This is actually starting point. So infusing that in physiotherapy is going to bring down a lot of good traits. And the fear that is it going to take our jobs? Definitely not, because the truth is that one thing about healthcare is that there has to be this human contact. So of course there have been in UK now. There's usually recently there was this AI driven clinic physiotherapies where they interface with a physiotherapy, but then those who are in charge of it are actually humans. So evolving in that aspect, being able to look at use cases of AI to physiotherapy or whatever profession you are going to do will actually go a long way, because it has come to stay and it's just the norm.
So there's no point staying away but like embracing it and trying to see exactly how can it help us become more efficient, more productive. I think that's like really, really important. That's like very cool. So as we wrap up, so what are like few words to young people out there that are trying to like find their career, find a direction, or they are facing different failures at different points in time?
What I'll just say is that regardless of the challenges, regardless of the obstacles that might be expressed right now, just keep pushing that idea that you have, that dream that you have. Just put it to work. Keep pushing. Keep Don't let setbacks, don't let failure define you. Keep pushing, be flexible, keep adapting, keep evolving, and of course, definitely, just keep getting better. Just keep getting better. Get better. More importantly, in everything you do, don't forget God.
Yeah.
God has to be, because the background of everything. Do not forget God, because it's very, 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 very vital and important. Yeah. So thank you.
So thank you very much. It has been a very, very insightful conversation, talking through your journey before school, before OAU, while in OAU, and even post OAU, to talking a bit about physiotherapy. You also enlightened us a bit more about stroke, about high blood pressure, modifiable risk factors, non-modifiable risk factors, and also general encouragement for everyone out there that failures will come at different points in time, but then we can push through. We should not allow failure to define us. There's much more to us than meets the eye. And also we spoke a bit about AI too. Like there's no point trying to stay away, but then embrace it. Try and see how we can improve your efficiency, your productivity. It's been an amazing conversation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Damilola, Olatunji. And I know that you guys out there must have learned one or two things, right, from listening and watching this episode. Thank you very much for staying to this very point in time. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. We'll be having new episodes where we'll be talking to people in other fields, exploring their journeys and sharing their story. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.